Hi, my friends. Hi, my friends. Hi, my friends. This is Rose, Coach Rose AJ, coming to holla at you with another edition of Carnivore plus a little bit more. Today, we're going to be talking about chronic conditions that, may have affected us for a lifetime, or maybe, some chronic conditions that cropped up after we were 50. There's no really specific time frame, but we're just going to talk about chronic conditions in general. And my biggest one that I want to talk about today is inflammation, because that can occur at any age with anything in general. And today in the studio, who do I have with me?
Hi, Rose. It's Lori here from Lori's Carnivore Story on YouTube. And I have a website, loriweitzel.ca.
All right. Thank you, Lori. And thank you for joining me again for another wonderful conversation, as we did a couple of weeks ago when we talked about fitness and exercise. So it's good to have you back in the studio again. Just love calling
Thank
this
you.
studio because at some point in time it will be a studio, girl. But anyway, so let's just go ahead and get started with talking about chronic conditions. And the reason why I wanted to talk about inflammation specifically, y'all, is because inflammation can show up not just with an injury or with a dietary protocol or if we're ill, but inflammation is something that occurs naturally in response, to help us to get better. It's not a bad thing, but chronic inflammation is a bad thing. It means your system has been overrun, and this is how it will normally respond to anything that comes its way, including exercise, right? As we discussed a couple of weeks ago, Lori, exercise is a wonderful thing and it's a stressor and it does produce inflammation of the good kind. But if we overdo it or overuse it, it can be a chronic response. And it's always there like a low burning fire, right? That never goes out. And then if we compound that, you guys, with our diet or maybe a sedentary lifestyle, or maybe if we're just under a lot of stress, our whole system, our whole body has inflammation. So, what about you, Lori? Have you had experience with inflammation, or is there a chronic condition that kind of overrides another that you may have experienced?
Yeah, the most recent diagnosis that makes me think of chronic inflammation is, of course, with your joints, um, osteoarthritis and osteoporosis. Um, I always thought of inflammation as, like you said, pertaining to exercise or an injury, where if you cracked your tailbone or, if you broke a bone or something. And I always had chronic back pain from a young age, different jobs that I had, a car accident, falling down the stairs and cracking my tailbone. Um, I never realized until recently with the carnivore lifestyle change what an impact your diet has on inflammation as well. I started to notice when I ate certain things that lower back pain would come back. And then I had to do, like, I think carnivore way of eating is a really good elimination diet, something that I have tried for years and years and years, not really knowing what I was doing, trying to figure out what's bothering my stomach, my digestion, things like that. I never ever connected the diet with inflammation and pain. And I think over the years, I kept getting told by doctors and other practitioners, oh, I see some inflammation here. It would show up on a blood test or whatever. And, they would talk about that if you're chronically inflamed, you're going to get more infections, you're going to have more ailments, maybe just a lower immune system in general. And I just thought, why am I so inflamed? Like, I mean, what's going on? And nobody could ever really explain it or fix it unless I was to take a medication that would be like an anti-inflammatory. So once I found carnivore, I learned very quickly that you can really help yourself out a lot. with what you're eating with your inflammation.
Thank you. Now, Lori, inflammation has shown up for me like it's brain fog at times. I have been carnivore for several years. There's been times where I've eaten foods that were carnivore friendly, but that still created the inflammation, the brain inflammation, the fogginess, like I was hung over from something, right? And that's primary something like dairy and cheese and bacon. If I eat certain combinations and certain amounts at the same time, that will create that. And so I don't have any chronic conditions that surface up other than inflammation. But before we were getting ready to record, you had mentioned a couple of chronic conditions that you've had or that you currently have and are dealing with. Would you like to share one or two of those?
Yeah, so another one is the big diagnosis of fatty liver disease. Surprise, surprise. I had my gallbladder removed in my 30s. And I remember, they were basically saying you can live without a gallbladder, no problem. You just have to eat certain things and take this medication, of course. And about 7 years later, I started having a lot of digestive issues, and I saw a nutritionist. And she said, roughly 7 years is exactly how long your liver can do the gallbladder's job among the other 500 functions it has, um, before it starts to, be affected. And even then, of course, the diet changed again. I got lots of supplements. I followed it for a while. I fell off of it for a while. I was under extreme stress at the time. So talk about cortisol contributing to all that too. Um, and then the pandemic happened. I got depressed. I went to bed and stayed there. I quit my industry that I was in, healthcare at the time. I was completely lost. I didn't know what to do. And more depression sets in, more bedtime, and more weight gain. And again, surprise, surprise, that's when I was diagnosed with fatty liver.
And has that gone away completely with the carnivore way of life, or are you going back for testing in the near future for that?
The testing for that, I don't think I'm due till later this year for the next testing. The testing previous to that, I had been let go for a year because my numbers were so good. And that was before carnivore. So I had just worked really diligently, again, with my diet at the time. I would say it was more keto then. Um, and I had lost enough weight to get the numbers good. But then I had a series of 4 infections in a row where I had to take 4 courses of antibiotics in a row. And I knew I could feel the symptoms coming back. And I knew if I survived these infections first, oh boy, what's going to go on with the liver? And when I got the liver looked at, then it was almost non-functional when I found out about that. So we went to work with getting the liver working again. And according to the homeopath, I'm all in the clear, but I don't have blood tests from my family doctor yet to confirm that way. But I feel great and I don't have any of the symptoms I was getting. So I can only conclude that I'm on the right track with that. I believe the weight loss really helps that. That when I was first diagnosed, all they told me was lose weight. That is the only way you can cure or help reverse a fatty liver. I believe that they're kind of right about that in as much as what they can do for you. There's no pill for fatty liver.
Right.
What they do for you is they wait until you're on the transplant list, and then they can really help you really well with a transplant. But people like
Even
me,
then, even then, if you're on the wait list for a transplant, you're not guaranteed. So you might as well
no,
be as preventative as you possibly can and be an advocate in saving your own life.
I'm saying weight loss really helps a lot of things. It's not the cause of a lot of things, but it's not helping to also be obese and heavy with a lot of these things. So weight loss is helping, carnivore way of eating is helping, and probably exercise is helping.
Yeah. I would say all three of those are dynamite. Let me just put it that way, are dynamite, because you're about to blow up, girl. All right, friends, y'all heard it here first. We talked about chronic conditions. Mine is essentially inflammation. It'll crop up depending on what food combinations, carnivore food combinations that I eat, or in how much. And I just want to give everybody a reminder. What we feed our body, what we fuel our bodies with, we're also fueling our brains with. So if our bodies are inflamed around our fingers, ankles, toes, all that good stuff, that probably means that there might be some inflammation in your brain as well, and you might not be thinking as well or as clearly. Hence brain fog. So please pay attention to how you're providing care for yourself and the foods that you're eating. And if you're having a response to them, maybe consider, stepping over to the wild side, the carnivore side of life. What do you think, Lori? Do you think they should give it a try if they're having symptoms from the foods that they're
Definitely.
eating? All
It,
right.
just try it for 30 days, 90 days. Give it a try.
Whoop, whoop. All right, guys. Till next time. Peace out.